Um, it was interesting because I've been thinking about this book and trying to integrate it with, starting back into real estate and whatnot. And I was talking to Nico a little bit about this book the other day, and that concept you were just talking about, Casey, it came up about. So most of you know I've been in real estate for a really long time, but there was a role I had at one point, which if I don't know if you're familiar, anyone ever eaten at Rita's Italian Ice? It's a franchise. Best Italian ice and frozen yogurt, custard you'll ever have in your life. Um, what was very interesting about that position was I was a real estate manager. I covered 7 states. I was on a plane every day except for Monday to a different state. So imagine being a buyer's agent, but for 7 states. This is why I get cranky when someone tells me an hour is too far away to drive. When they're a buyer's agent, I'm like, I would get on a plane and go to Kentucky. But one of the most interesting things that company required was no matter what role you were in the entire company, and there were a lot of them because it was a big national company, you had to spend 1 week in Pennsylvania learning to run Aritas. You had to make custard. You had to make ice. You had to serve clients. You had to do everything for one whole week so that you understood what the company was doing and who the client was every day. Right. And I thought it was I remember when they first told me, I was like, what? I don't want to make frozen custard. I don't care about the recipes, none of that stuff. And it ended up being such an incredible part of the training. Because you were starting from that very bottom, like most of the time teenagers are doing that, right? They're running the stores, as far as like making the stuff. So I was telling him about this book and about how I thought that was truly an incredible training opportunity for you to and these were franchise owners, by the way, when they buy a store, before they're allowed to buy a franchise area, they also had to go do the training. And it was like starting from the very bottom. So when I was reading the chapters again, talking about the team and the things, like look at it from every perspective, right? Like those of us that have bought houses as well, right? You get an experience as being the buyer or the seller, not just the agent. So anyway, that's what came up for me whenever I was going through this. And I was like, okay, now I really understand why they did what they did. And I thought it was pretty incredible as a company to require. Anybody else? When I was thinking about implementing it in your businesses and everyday business, I was thinking about like we do, Casey and I and Laura, we've done daily huddles, right? So that is integration, communication, everybody's on, we're talking through everything that's going on inside of the business, etc. So it made me think of this, right? This is our version of that. Having communication, having an open forum, having an opportunity to talk through whatever the trainings are or whatever's happening inside of the business. It's just another way of integrating what he's talking about in the chapters. So no one else? Okay, go ahead, Ayla.
I like the hiring correctly thing. In our case, it is like picking the right clients, wanting to work with the right kind of people. Because sometimes just because a bad client can really ruin the experience or us. I mean, it's not even like I'm not even going to blame the client. Sometimes we just don't fit, right? I mean, we just don't get along, and it's never a good experience for either. And we don't get the result we want, and everybody's time is wasted, everybody's frustrated. So I think it's important to make sure that we work with the right kind of people, we surround ourselves with the right kind of people. I think that's what something that.
Oh, oh, Ela, you muted. 1 second.
Oh, sorry. I think that's sorry. I'm just so that was chapter 8, I think. But yeah, that is what was like. I'm like, yeah, okay. This because they have had I have gotten fired once, and I have had to fire a couple of clients. So I've been through that, and while it hurts at that moment, in the long run, it's the right thing to do, I think.
Yeah, love that. All right, anyone else before we move on? Okay, so next week's chapter 9 and 10. Chapters 9 and 10. Let's make sure we all kind of keep moving along. I knew I liked the book. I think it's very different when you start reading it at a much slower pace and thinking about what you implement from it versus just reading. So just interesting. And I think I shared this with you guys maybe week before last, as I'm building and creating and things, as I'm trying to build stuff here in Houston, and I'm using AI for a lot of my stuff just to help me think differently. I've told it, I want you to think about everything that we create for real estate sales here from this perspective, from this book. Challenge my thinking. Tell me if I'm not doing enough to think about how I would create unreasonable hospitality for a potential client. And sometimes I have to remind it, as you always have to do with AI, which I often think makes me feel like it's human sometimes. How many times you have to remind humans too. So I was like, it feels very human in that aspect. I'm like, don't you remember what I asked you to do last week? It's like talking to your 15-year-old. But it does think of things that I don't necessarily think of whenever I'm thinking about dealing with a potential seller or a buyer. So integrate that in your everyday thinking, or maybe even just stick a little, Selena likes sticky notes, but that just, I put it over to the side and I think, oh, how am I thinking from the perspective of this book and what I'm creating, writing, or doing? So just something to think about. Okay. This week's market update. This was interesting. I was like, now this can be because we had the first of the month, right? Like we do tend to see a lot of that happen towards the beginning of the month, but I was like, that was a big shift between the two. When you look at it from this perspective, again, we saw last week an increase in open houses. I think we just had a weird week 2 weeks ago where it was the beginning of summer, and a lot of folks were on vacation, but we did see in Alameda and Contra Costa County open houses actually go up significantly. Tours went up significantly, and then new listings went up significantly. This means buyers have a lot more choices right now, so sellers need to be really careful about their pricing, right? Don't be unreasonable. We're just not in that market at the moment. And, it says here as well, this is what we talked about last week. It did appear that we had just sort of a big post-holiday inventory. San Mateo, however, had the opposite. So I just don't like, it's not that far away. I just try to like figure it out. I'm like, what happens between here and there? Such an interesting shift and change. And I was like, I don't have any explanation for it. It's fascinating to me, but big change with regards to activity happening. So they're window shopping right now. Sellers need to create more urgency with pricing and presentation. This was interesting. I was having a conversation with a buyer, with an agent last week, and their seller really didn't want to do anything to their house. And it was like really not in great shape. And it was ironically, it came up at the same time that I went to go look at a rental listing. I was considering possibly not renewing my lease here and just deciding to go a little bit bigger. And I show up, and guys, the house, the rental market in my neighborhood is very tight. It comes and it goes very, very fast. And I show up to this rental, and it was so filthy. It was so filthy and such a mess and everything. I was like, I just wanted to call the agent and be like, did you talk to them? Did you say anything? Like when the pictures are bad, you kind of just think maybe it's just, somebody doing it with an iPhone. But so I was having the same conversation with that agent, and I said, you just have to advise them that given what's happening right now, buyers are going to choose something that is showing well, cleaning well. I'm not saying you have to do a full kitchen renovation, but like no matter what, it should look good when a buyer walks in, because right now in some places they have more to choose from, and they're going to choose one that's going to give them the best feeling when they walk in the door. So it's just really interesting to see in different markets kind of what's happening and what's expected and what sellers are and are not willing to do right now. So again, it's your job. It's your job to advise. Debbie, go ahead. You came off mute.
In Fresno, it's very seldom do people fix up their homes to put them on the market. I mean, they might clean up a little bit and pack up a little bit, but it's
Well,
as
and
good.
I advised this agent, I said, look, you have to decide if you want to list something that looks the way that it does. Like they were out, but it's just dirty, right? And I said, in my opinion, I would take the cost. If you want to sell the home, I would get it cleaned. Like these are the kinds of things you have to kind of figure into if you are going to accept a listing. Are you going to accept it as is like that, dirty and filthy so that everyone coming in, or are you going to take on, and maybe you say that they have to pay you back at closing or something like that. We've had that happen where people have done, or we've paid for repairs on the front end. I know Tracy definitely has and fronted. So sometimes you have to take into consideration, like Ela, you said, if you're going to fire a client, if they're not going to invest in selling their own home and at least having it clean, when someone is walking through it, do you take it, or do you negotiate that you're going to pay the upfront cost and do that to make it more amenable to buyers, especially when they have choices in areas like this, where they might want to choose something that doesn't give them the ick when they walk in the door,
Some sellers just aren't willing to do it.
Yeah.
And agents can, I mean, I know I've had some where I've tried and tried and tried, and sellers just don't want to do it flat out. So, and I don't necessarily have the means to do it for them.
Yeah, it's
with
going to
no
depend.
guarantee. So sometimes it is what it is.
Tracy, you look like you wanted to share something.
Yeah, I think it's very dependent on what I think their urgency and what they're trying to do, because some people are like, hey, we're just going to sell. We just need to go on. They're very lackadaisical about it. You have other people that are like, we're going to sell. We need the most that we can out of this. And so even if they have stuff around their house, it's like, let's get a plan together to get this cleaned up. It doesn't have to be spotless, but I think the more you can make it to where buyers are not processing through, there's so much stuff here, I can't see my own stuff. That's really the phrase that I use a lot, is people want to walk in and see where they can put their things. You've got to move anyway. Let's box up and organize the garage a little bit, right? And put some things there. But like right now, I have a duplex listed, and there's someone that's been in one end of the duplex 27 plus years. And then there's someone that's been in just a year in the front. And so you can see the progression of that, right? And it's a little bit rough and tough for sure. But, we had 7 showings last week. And one of the things when I went and talked to the seller, I said, how do you feel about this? And she's like, can you talk to them about just getting it as cleaned up as they can? I said, certainly I can. So, I mean, each of them have done that to that point and have been very receptive to when we have showings and things. But it's true. I went into a few houses this past week looking with some other buyers, and it's just amazing the different levels. And when the buyer's saying something about it, it's making a difference for them to be able to say, like, I definitely don't think I can do this, or what else is wrong here?
Yeah.
So it makes a huge difference. And I will say this, if you are going to help, even just to clean or to help them maybe do a dump run, something like that, make sure that you put that somewhere in your listing under other terms of other terms and conditions, so that if for some reason, if that listing is canceled or expired or whatever, within 5 days of that, you're getting a check from them. I mean, I always put that in my listing. I might also put a cap in there if there's a cap that is needed. If I want to feel comfortable around that. So those things are just out of my experience. That's what I would say. Make sure that it's noted somewhere, and attaching it into the listing, I think, is very important. If anything goes sideways, you want to make sure that whatever monies that you have put in, you will get out. So,
love that, Tracy. Thank you for sharing
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Just make it as presentable as possible. Okay. Just a quick review. They have released a new fast cap date. If you don't know, the most recent one just started on the 8th, but the next one is August 19th. I don't see any new after hours versions yet. They typically do those only once a quarter. And that's typically for people who work during the day and need to go to the evening one. But the next one is August 19th. Just a couple of quick reminders again. EXPCon 2026 is in Salt Lake City. I do love that we can look up whether or not you have registered now, so I can find out who's going and who's not. Build event we've got in November. Debbie, are you going to the one in Texas? I haven't decided yet. When is that one? It's coming up, right?
July 31st and August 1st. It's a Friday, Saturday, and I'm doing a 4-hour workshop with Liz Brown on the 30th.
Look at you. Look at you. All right. I will see if I can get that one's in Dallas, right? Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. I know I went last year and got to sit with you, so that was a big win for me. So maybe I'll try to do that again this time. And then again, Scottsdale is in April of next year, so don't forget to register. For anyone who wasn't on last week, we discussed Hub. We moved to Hub, right? We're moving to Hub. I'm still going to keep texting for a little bit, but the ultimate goal is to move to Hub for the announcements that we have for this. Casey and I talked this week as well. So you saw that I turned on the recording. I'll typically start the recording after 60-second wins from now on, and these will be in a new playlist on our YouTube channel. If you missed one, you can go back and watch one. We'll be posting it in the Hub as well. But it's a good opportunity for us to be able to go back to past trainings. Please remember that if you've got someone that you are considering bringing to EXP or someone that is already with EXP in the East Bay area, to invite them to this as well. We're opening this up to a larger group. I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, just in prep for this week's retreat. But next week, I'll start inviting more people. So we might have a bigger group attending, which I love because it means we get more perspectives and more interaction. And I love it when everybody participates. So if you haven't joined these Hub groups, these are the ones I went in and looked up last week. Definitely turn on your notifications. I did see one this morning for the Houston area, and it was a referral being offered in our Hub group. So it's starting to pick up. More and more people are starting to connect to the Hub and get moved into those groups. And this is ultimately where you should be getting referrals and information about your specific state. So ours is this one right here, 10 a.m. Tuesday. Most of you are on, if I recall. I looked this morning. I think I was still only missing like 2 people in the Hub group. So I'm just going to keep bugging people who haven't joined yet until you've all converted. Okay, next, national market. As I'm sure you're aware, if any of you follow politics, we are back to bombing. When that happens, we immediately see a mortgage increase. So it's just the two are directly related. So we did see it go up a little bit after having our first drop in the last year. So again, this is why we just try to keep in contact with our buyers, because they can lock in rates when it gets lower. So just keep an eye on it if you've got a buyer who's on the fence about whether or not to do it right now. So just keep that in mind. And then we had inflation fell sharply. That's the first one we've had in a while. They are still talking about potential Fed relief. That seems like we've been in that conversation since I can't even remember when it started. A long time now. So it's just such an interesting time. I told my husband the other day, I was like, I feel like we're in the Matrix. I hope we're in a simulation some days. But nonetheless, there's just a lot going on there. Still seeing a lot happening with builders. Again, I think Debbie and I've talked about this a lot with new construction. If you've got a buyer who is really struggling with this, we're seeing that there's still a lot being offered with new construction being at a lower rate. So I just want you to keep that in mind if you've got someone who says they really want to buy and they haven't been able to find something that works with them. So keep that in mind. Specifically for the East Bay, we saw average house price go up in Oakland for the first time in a long time. So that was very interesting to see. I'm not as familiar with SB 79. I'm sure you guys are locally, if anybody wants to research that more. And then closed sales dipped 21.5%. And we have more inventory, which is what we were talking about just a moment ago. So again, just kind of watching everything. Sellers must price perfectly right now. Buyers are seeing this extra inventory, giving them a position to negotiate. When there's more for them to look at, they have more possibility to offer less or different terms. So keep that in mind. Okay, sales training for today. The algorithm was algorithming this past week, as was apparently Tristan Ahumada, who I think must also hear my algorithm, because someone reached out to me last week for help on developing a pre-listing packet. They had never done one. They were hearing a lot about it. And it wasn't 2 days later, Tristan Ahumada posted about pre-listing packets. I was like, he's listening to my conversations. I follow him. I like his coaching and his teaching. He's on Lab Coat Agents on Facebook. If you don't follow him, he and other people share a lot of really great stuff on that particular Facebook page. So I was like, well, thank you, Tristan. I did add something and take something out that he does. I took something out and I'm going to give you a bonus at the end of this that I recommend. But we'll go through kind of what he had here. Who here is already using a pre-listing packet right now? Something you send out in advance of your listing appointment? No one. Okay. So there are two thoughts to this. This is where we're going to start is some people say, why? Why would I do that? I'm just going to go to the listing appointment anyway. I like them because I think you're getting something in their hands early. And my recommendation is you get it in their hands as quickly as possible. Most sellers are interviewing multiple agents. Okay. So it's you against, could be 2, could be 5, could be 10. You never know. So you want to figure out what's going to set you apart from everyone else showing up at the listing appointment. I like it. Mark and I started doing it. I forget who it was that we saw, and they were doing it at a really high level, and we just loved it. And they were having such a better conversion rate on listing appointment conversions by doing it. Christy Buck takes it one step further. Mark and I sent it via email. Christy has it hand delivered to the seller before she actually does the listing appointment. Either she or someone on the team will go and have it delivered to the house. The idea behind it is that you're letting them learn a little bit about you beforehand. You're not using up 2 or 3. I would love it when Rick would tell me he would be at a listing appointment for 3 hours, and I'd be like, why? 1, it's Rick, and the man loved to talk. But 2, you're doing all of the marketing of yourself. I'm going to turn my heater off 1 second. I'm freezing up here. It's 95 degrees outside, and I'm freezing in my office. But he would, we would get that marketing piece or the questions, letting them learn a little bit about you before sitting in their kitchen. Because ultimately, when you're there, they want you to be talking about what you think the house is worth, period. Okay, so let's just jump in here a little bit. And we're going to go over these one at a time. But here's the recommendation that Tristan had. And remember, I took one thing out, which I'll tell you in a moment what it was. And then I'm going to add something at the end. Realistically, they want to know what makes you qualified to sell their home. So there needs to be like a biography. Actually, we'll go into this here in a minute. Marketing process, reviews with numbers, your communication plan, timeline and what to expect, and then the paperwork. So we're just going to jump into it so that we can do it one at a time. What makes you qualified? I love this when it came up as like a spine and a standard. Like you just have to be a human. Like you are qualified. You are licensed. You went through the process to get licensed. And what they're really looking for when you're walking in the door is a standard. Like what is your standard in this case? So who you are, who's your company, what you stand for. If you don't have a mission and vision statement, I encourage you to make one. Okay. This is why you do what you do, why you love what you do, what you're trying to do. Like, guys, Phil Stringer has a great AI thing to help you figure this out with prompts. Like if you're really struggling to figure out what this is for you, and I'm happy to send that to whomever wants it. And it's just a way of like asking you questions and you answering them in your own tone until eventually it becomes, you know, it starts to determine what that can be for you. So include a mission and vision statement. If you're new and you don't have a lot of track record to go to, lean on EXP. Lean into what they offer, who they are, who they work with, those types of things. There's a lot of stuff in Canva, which I am going to show you guys in just a little bit, but there's a lot already in Canva that you can utilize that lets you lean on EXP as the brand. So if you're new, don't say, well, I don't have anything to share because I haven't sold any houses. Use their information in order to get that done. So the very first one is a page that at least tells them about you. How long you've been in business, what you're passionate about, a little bit more. Like they want to have a connection. They don't want a bot. They want an ELA, right? Like that's what they want. 2, telling isn't selling. Show them the plan. They want to know everything you're going to do to market their home. Everything. Where it's going to be, how it's going to happen, Or do you do Facebook? Are you going to have open houses? How are people going to find out that my house is for sale? Are you only going to put it in the MLS? They're going to want some sort of description about what's going to happen if they list their home with you. I love it when they're like, where does it syndicate to? Oh, well, there's only like 1,000 places. Let me just name them all off for you really quick. There's a really good page in one of the Canva documents, in the EXP documents in Canva, that actually gives like a visual of all the kinds of, like, can't name them all because there's so many, but like showing where things syndicate, that yes, it goes to Zillow. Yes, it goes to realtor.com. Yes, it goes to this. Sometimes sellers don't know that, and they want just an idea of what's going to happen once it gets listed. Give them a packet of like information that they can look at and feel comfortable. Are you going to send out postcards? If you don't, it's okay. Don't put it on there if you're not going to do it. But if you are, like we did in New York, when something was being listed, we notified them. We're going to we're going to mail a postcard to everyone in your neighborhood. Okay. Like all of your neighbors are going to know. They're going to have our information in case they have a friend or family member that might want to buy in the neighborhood, and they can give them that postcard. We did that. When it went in contract, another one went out, and when it sold, another one went out. So that was all done, and we advertised in our pre-listing packet that was going to happen. We said, yes, absolutely, we do open houses. We're also going to call all of your neighbors and invite them for what we call a VIP open house. All of a sudden, they're like, wow, okay, I can see this whole plan that goes into place. Don't put it on the page if you're not going to do it, because they will catch you and they will say, none of my neighbors got a postcard. Okay, so don't do it if you're not going to do it. Start small if you need to, and say it's going to be emails, or it's going to be this, or it's going to be that, but tell them what's going to happen and then do it. Okay, so that's the next page. Next one. If you have any reviews, testimonials, anything like that, you may not have this right now. If you're new, that's okay. Start it. The minute you have a closing, make sure that you do get a testimonial and a review. Now, this is something that not a lot of people are willing to do. Ask your past client if you can put their phone number on there so that they can call that person. There is nothing better than an actual real conversation. Like, hey, how did it go when Ela sold your home? Tell me more about it. How long did it take? Did you feel like she was good at communicating? Like, not everyone's going to say it's okay. That's all right. But if you have them and you don't have the phone number, make sure that you have something somewhere where they can go and see, like give them the blurb of something, but also make sure that they know they can go to your Zillow reviews, or they can go to your Google reviews or something like that to go see detailed information. Build this page up as you get more. If you only start with one, it's okay. Just make the font really big. And then when you get to 2 or 3, you can shrink the font a little bit more, right? It's all in marketing, okay?
You can add pretty graphics to take up space.
Yes, that's right. Great graphics, a picture of them if you want, a picture of the house, whatever. Don't hesitate to put, even if you only have one, put the one, guys. It counts, okay? People like personal reviews that they can read and go look at, okay? So that's the next one. 4, tell them how you're going to communicate with them. This is one of the biggest mistakes that agents make, is they don't set a goal and an intention of letting them know, hey, how often you're going to hear from me. We did ours on Friday. It was every Friday, never failed, never missed. They got a report. Our VA helped us do that. If you're looking for an example of what the report was, it was we'd log on to showing time and we'd see how many showings they had. Okay. We would get on Zillow and be able to see how many people had liked it, favorited it, whatever, like realtor.com, things like that. We created a report, and our VA was on the back end all week long compiling it. And then that email would go out first thing in the morning on Friday, and then calls started at 9 a.m. on Friday. Even if there was nothing to report, they got a call. Okay. And it really sucks when you have to call and say that there were no showings this week. But that's the preempt to the conversation about a price improvement. So if there were no showings that week, then hey, do we need to talk about possibly doing a price improvement? No, set a goal for yourself, block your calendar. If you say you're going to do it every Friday at 9 and that's when you're going to start making your seller calls or your buyer calls, then like block it on your calendar. It's a non-negotiable. The worst thing you can do is tell them you're going to call them every Friday and don't do it. Okay, so put it in there. Okay. Showing feedback. This is so fascinating to me. No one here in Texas does showing feedback. Like, I don't understand it. Like, they'll ask for it, but like no one gives it. I don't know if that's the same for you guys there, but I love feedback, and we would go above and beyond to get feedback. If they weren't doing it automatically through Showing Time or whatever showing service that you guys are using, we would call them and be like, hey, my seller expects feedback. They're going to ask me why these agents aren't responding. Could you please just put whatever your buyer thought, even if it was not interested?
The
Don't-
last 2 years, that's really gone down because of that lawsuit where
Lawsuit.
that buyer's agent got sued for giving feedback, and then her buyer actually wanted to buy the house, and the buyer sued her because the seller was not willing to negotiate because they got the feedback from that buyer. So
Be
that's why I
careful.
think a lot of people aren't doing reviews anymore, because it's like, you know what, I'm not even going to take that chance unless you get permission from the buyer to give the feedback, or permission, that's the only way that I would do it.
Yeah, ours are different here in Texas. We use Showing Smart, and basically all it says is, did your buyer, it's like a range of 1 to 5, not interested at all to come very interested and like in between. So it's not anything like terrible. It's kind of a range, but we try to get feedback as much as possible. The most important ones I would say is if a buyer's agent calls you and says, wow, the house really smelled like cat pee, I tell them, I'm like, please put that in the feedback, because the seller is going to get it and it's going to allow me to do something about it. And the more people that respond to that, then the more likely I am to be able to have a real conversation with them about it. Remember, most sellers are nose blind. They've lived in it for so long, they don't smell it. So things like that. So no matter what, tell them how you're going to communicate and tell them when you're going to communicate, and then do it. This is important for them to know. It's also really good for them to see this here. If you say you're going to call and they're like, I'm crazy busy, I would rather that you just text me. Now you know how they want to be communicated with, because they've seen how you would like to communicate and they're going to ask for something different. So it's really, really important. Okay, next one.
Can I just
Sellers
say one?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Tracy.
Oh, yeah. What I was going to say too about the communication is, if they're expecting some sort of communication from you on Friday between 1 and 3, I always set up that expectation of like between 1 and 3, you're going to get an email or a call or a text from me. It's usually a call, is to say, it also lets them know what's happening in the market, what's changed in that week. Like, oh, 2 of these things went pending. If you need to do a price reduction and they're not reducing their price and 2 other things went pending, that's the prime opportunity to say, we need to do something because we need a price improvement, or this is what's happening in the market. And it gives them that ability right then to be able to see that, because even when you list their house, they can be off doing other things. They're not paying attention to the market as much as you think that they are. So it becomes a real opportunity for you to say, in the market today, this is what we're seeing, or this is how this has changed, and things like that. So that expectation of how you're going to show up for them. And it keeps them from wondering, they say, well, I didn't even know that you did that, because there's a lot of work that we do that people don't see. And when you are making a reason as to why you need to be paid your 3%, you've got to show up for them to show that, and why they're going to give that to you, and why that's important. So, but there's so much work that's done behind the scenes that we need to always come back and say what we've done for them. So those communications once a week give you the ability to do that, and keep your commission rate where you want it to be. So
I love that, Tracy. And I think about whenever you have on that marketing plan, if you did it that week, it goes in this report. It goes in that email, right? So that you're showing them what's being done. A little tip, if you're wanting to systematize anything that you're doing, is when we took on a new listing, we made a hot sheet for that listing so that you were automatically getting a notification if something went pending or something new came on or something, so that could go in the report as well. So it's like just part of your system, like, hey, new listing, hot sheet created. Now I'm going to know everything, because it's like Tracy said, some sellers are watching everything and they're like, why didn't you tell me that my neighbor's house had come on the market? They want you to know about it before they see it, but some aren't. And this is your opportunity to let them know and say, hey, listen, we have a competing listing that just came on in the neighborhood. Let's talk about what we might want to do differently. So it's very important for you to know about it instantly, because the last thing you want them to do is then call you and a new listing came on 5 days ago and you haven't mentioned it, right? So it's just a way of like cheating the system. Now, all of a sudden you're getting all the notifications when something happens in that particular neighborhood. Okay, so a little cheat code there. Okay, number 5. This is my favorite little thing. And there's actually one in the EXP thing, which was exciting. So they like knowing what's coming next. And we stole this from someone else, and I always called it the Candyland board because I didn't know what else to call it. That's just what I call it. And it was like we made a little board that said, as a seller, here's what happens from the time you sign listing paperwork to pre-listing status to going active in the MLS to open, and it looked like a Candyland board. And it would be like, here's what the process looks like. Sometimes they're a new seller and they don't know what the steps are. They don't know what happens once it goes into contract, right? It's very different. New York is an attorney state and they don't use title. And here in Texas, everything's done through title. So it's really important for them to see that. Give it to them in a visual. There's one in Canva that says, and it's so cute. Hang on. We're just going to do it while we're right here. 1 second. It is listing materials. Oops, I clicked too fast. Resources. Good Lord, there it is. Clicking so fast today. Seller's roadmap. Isn't this adorable? Like, it's so great. Ours look like a Candyland board. I really like this one. It's like, here's what we're doing. This is what it looks like. This is when we're at offers and negotiation and under contract. Like, this is available in Canva as one of your EXP resources. Put this in your pre-listing packet. It's giving them an idea about what this is going to look like for them and what they can expect as it continues to go through. You want to take it one step further. We had everything in a system. Every time they got to a new section in our Candyland board, their email would say, congratulations, you're pending. And then the Candyland board picture would be there and it'd be like a little star that said, you are here. Okay, so like, let them know in the pre-listing packet what each step in the process looks like. Sometimes they've never sold a home and they just don't know. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's great for them to really know what the process looks like for them. Okay, this is the last one. And then I'm going to tell you what I took out, and then I'm going to tell you what I'd add. I do highly encourage you to send them a sample contract and the disclosures to look at in advance, especially in states like California, where there are 900 pages. Okay, so sometimes they want a little bit of chance to look at it. This is really good because it can help save you time when you're actually sitting down and doing all of the paperwork with them. Sometimes they like to look at it and they will be able to ask questions. Okay, I recommend doing this in advance. If you want to take it one step further, this is my favorite little part, go ahead and fill it out. Like all of your information and their information in it. The reason for that is you can bring it with you. It's already ready. And if they're ready to sign, it's already done. Okay, they're already knowing what it looks like and any of your standard stuff that you put in there. This just gives them time to explore all of that before you show up. They can ask what's lead disclosure and why do I need it? What's property condition disclosure, and explain more to me about what I have to say and what I need to do. It's a lot of paperwork to try to do when you're at the actual listing appointment. So give this in advance. Okay, I'm going to tell you really quick what he had in there that I don't agree with. He had a full net sheet and what he was recommending for the price in a pre-listing packet. Do not do that, because his cousin twice removed that is friends with his best friend's brother might be an agent, and you just gave them the price to list the home at and an entire marketing plan. So like, don't do that. I don't agree with that at all. Now, what I would suggest adding that I didn't put in here, but it's something that Christy Buck taught us years ago, and I really thought it was really smart, and not a lot of people do this at all, much less in a pre-listing packet. It was called seller's homework. And it was several pages for the seller to fill out about their home. And that was, what are your utility prices? You know, who do you use? And tell me more about the house. What's your favorite parts? We actually, it's a big deal up there for septic and well and things like that. And we had a map, just a plain house with a lot. And we said, mark where those things are. And the reason that we did that was because we uploaded all of that to MLS as documents, because people would constantly ask us those kinds of questions, and we tried to get in front of it. But let me tell you the secret reason to send it to them. If you show up to your listing appointment and that is filled out on the table in front of you, you've already got that listing. They've already loved everything you gave them in advance, and they are ready to go. She took it one step further, which was really cute, and we did implement it towards the end. At the very top of the seller's homework, she had a little outline of a key, 2 keys, and it said, tape your keys here. If you show up and your keys are already taped there, guys, you already got that listing. They're already sold on you when you walked in the door, because they loved everything that you sent them. Like, she was like, and you come in with a totally different level of confidence when you see that done than you do when you walk in the door and you're not sure you're going to get it. You're like, you're in the zone at that point. So that would be the last thing that I would say to consider doing. I do find it very, very rare these days that it's shocking to me that people actually ask for that kind of information from the seller at all, much less than just the pre-listing packet. Guys, it saves you time. We put all of that in as attachments, and the number of questions we got from buyer's agents showing the house just went down, right? They were like, wow, I have so much information. I know what the average, if it's a big house and a buyer is interested in like what that power bill is going to run them, they love that that's all accessed there. Okay. Everything that you can find out about that house on the front end to save you and buyers agents time and energy just means the house gets sold faster. So maybe include that in there. So I'm just going to quickly run back over here to Canva. I want to make sure that you guys know what's available. So when you pop in here to eXp Realty brand templates, you all have this with your eXp logins through Canva. Look at everything that's in here. You see how many folders there are in here? Lots of different stuff, branding and identity, listing materials, buyer and seller presentations. I was a little surprised they didn't have a pre-listing packet. That was a little disappointing. But you can make your own. Social content, email templates, if you need new signage, anything like that. There's so much in here, guys, and they are constantly adding new stuff. So please make sure that you're utilizing what's there. If you are not finding anything you like there, my biggest suggestion for you is, God bless Etsy. Someone has built something that you're going to love, and you can pay $3 for a pre-listing packet that all you have to do is slap your face in and your information. I'm telling you, it's like $3 on Etsy. Go and look something up. I am often creatively challenged in Canva. Okay. That is not my wheelhouse. So I will go and look in Etsy, and there are companies that just create content like this all the time. And that is something that they are passionate about and love doing. Go take it and make it your own. Okay. I'm already 1 minute over. Thoughts, feedback, questions? Debbie says, yes. Who's going to go make a pre-listing packet? Okay.
I think you did a great job, and I think pre-listing is great. There's also another thing that I used to use a long time ago. I will have to look for it, but you can send over all the disclosures, and you can see how many times they've looked at it and looked through it and who they've sent it to and things like that. You can send a video over with it. It's Rob Troy's. He's out of here because he was Climb and he made this thing, but it's I'll get the thing for it. But it is
like Seller's Shield.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't
Yeah,
that.
it wasn't that. But yeah, I will get the name of it and get back to you. But yes, I will send it to our group chat thing on Hub.
That would be amazing.
But yeah, you can put things in there, and then you can send it off to your specific person. You can make a voiceover, or you can have AI make your video for you. You can put your thing in there, and you can just say, these are the following disclosures that we have, and this is what it looks like. So you can look through them, and then it gives them a chance. It's all a pre-selling listing agreement type thing that they can see. And then you can see like how many times have they gone in there and looked at it. Oh, they sent it to their dad, who's an attorney, to look at it, or whatever. You can see it from the back end. Oh, it's called High Note. That's what it's called. High Note.
I think I remember
HIGHNOTE.
High Note. Thank you, Tracy. So don't overthink it, guys. Remember, that's like 5 or 6 pages total. And you can totally do it in a PDF that can be emailed. Okay, you don't have to go and personally drop it off or FedEx it or anything like that. Just recognize that in a world where we're all fighting for the same listings, what are you doing that sets you apart from other agents that are out there fighting for those same listings? You're giving them information about you in advance. They're getting an opportunity to explore you a little bit more, get to know you and how you do your business. So just recognize that not a lot of people are doing it, and this might be the thing that shifts it for you. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you so much. I will see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.